Okay, this is the 40th class of us in this course on physics 2, and you can see there our now topic is polarization of electromagnetic waves. The topic is polarization of electromagnetic waves. Just a second. Okay, polarization of light. It is popularly we are using the term polarization of light. So basic, but it is actually the polarization of electromagnetic waves. Okay, because light wave at the end of the day is some kind of is an electromagnetic wave. Okay. And by light, herein I actually mean the visible light, but it is true for any portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, so let us get into the business. It is me, polarization of electromagnetic waves, and now this is the electromagnetic wave, which is created by the simultaneous vibration of electric field and magnetic field. Okay, their electric field and magnetic field are vibrating perpendicular to each other and perpendicular to the direction of propagation. So this is an example of transverse wave. Okay, and by light wave mainly means the optical spectrum. Okay, so it's an electromagnetic wave, and the light wave, the electric field vibrates in one plane. Okay, marked in red there in the picture, and magnetic field vibrates in a perpendicular plane. Okay, now polarization is a specific feature. Okay, you can see on the screen. Okay, electric field vibrational plane is there. Normally, that is the plane in which electric field vibrates. That is called plane of polarization. Sorry, plane of vibration. And the magnetic field vibrates with the plane of polarization. It's a relative concept. Basically, you may henceforth only say, mainly we'll be talking everything in reference of electric field. So electric field is vibrating in a plane like that, and magnetic field is vibrating just perpendicular to it. Okay, which you can see on the screen very carefully. Okay, these arrowheads. This is the direction in which the electric field is vibrating, and magnetic field is vibrating just perpendicular to it. Okay, now the question is that if I have got a point source which is emitting light in all possible directions, suppose in this direction, so electric field is vibrating in this direction. So this is the direction of vibration of the electric field. Okay, if electric field is light is sent in this direction, suppose electric field is vibrating in this direction. Suppose light is moving in this direction, so electric field is also vibrating in the same plane. Now it is vibrating in this direction. Suppose so, electric field is vibrating in like this, slightly oriented. If the light is moving in this direction, you can understand electric field vibrates in slightly oriented manner. This is the direction of vibration of the electric field. So in otherwise, you can see the direction of the vibration of the electric field may be this, maybe at some angles to it. So it can vibrate in all arbitrary angles that you can see on the screen. So this is how this type of light wave is called an unpolarized light wave, because here uh, the plane of vibration of the electric field is not defined. Okay, this is unpolarized. It is not defined. Okay, so what you have to do, this is unpolarized light. Okay, as you can see on the screen, this is the example of unpolarized light. Polarized light means you have to choose only one of them. Suppose electric field vibrates in only one of the direction, that is the polarized light. Okay, so this is the way of transforming one unpolarized light into polarized light. You see the picture left hand side, these are all unpolarized lights coming from a normal source. After passing through a crystal, it may be calcite crystal, quartz crystal, tourmaline crystal, depending on the nature of the crystal. Ultimately, what is happening, you see all the electric fields uh, before the um, before passing to the crystal, electric fields are vibrating in all possible directions. But after passing to the crystal, it is vibrating in line or in plane with the of the crystal. Okay, so these are all defined. Okay, this is vibrating in this direction. Okay, so this is the process of polarization of light. Okay, and you see it is transmitting to the crystal. So this is the electric polarization by transmission. Now there is a little bit of idea as proposed by Malu, is that suppose an electric field of intensity I is coming in. Okay, and it is okay. So this is a This is an unpolarized light. This is a vertically polarized light, and this is okay, vertically polarized light coming, and it is a polarizer. So this is the direction of the polarizer is at certain angle with the incident beam. So basically, this polarizer will make the light wave to pass through. You see, if it is suppose it is an okay, you see, uh, this was an unpolarized light. Okay, so after passing to the vertical polarizer, what is happening? This is the only component that is passing through. So if you keep a polarizer here, so this is the transmitted light whose intensity is now is I0 is the initial intensity. Now final intensity I will be proportional to the cos square of the angle between this axis. So the axis made by this vertically polarized light and the angle and also the axis of this polarizer. So if the vertically polarized light is in this direction and the polarizer is at an angle theta, so basically if this intensity is say I0, the final intensity of the light after passing through this is like I, that is equal to I0 cos square theta. The idea is that if both of them are parallel to each other, angle will be 0, cos 0 1, so the max all intensity will be passing. If both of them are 90 degree to each other, cos that 90 degree is 0, so no light will pass through. Okay, so basically that idea. So basically you can utilize this idea. So what polarization is doing? Polarization is a process by which you are actually filtering out some portion of the light. Okay, just like you see, this is a daily life example. Okay, photograph without Polaroid camera in the left side. Okay, the reflection of the sky is there. But if you use a Polaroid camera, you remove additional light. Okay, so you can see the inner surface. Okay, another beautiful example is Polaroid spectacle. Okay, you can see this type of sunglass. Okay, this polarizing glass actually, this actually removes the unwanted light. Okay, this actually acts as a filter. This actually blocks this red light. So in this diagram, so basically only it is allowing this blue one to pass through. So it is not selecting only this much out of the entire unpolarized light, because natural source is a source of unpolarized light. So basically it is filtering away some portion of the intensity, so better observation will be there. Okay, okay, you can see the only vertically polarized light will be there according to this diagram. Some more description: unpolarized light is coming from the sun, reflected polarized light is coming. Okay, it is passing through this glass. If it is vertically polarized, only the vertically polarized light will go, and you can see that portion. Okay, okay, so this is the way this type of polarized sunglass actually works. Now this is a 3D movie. Whatever you can see, if you have seen any 3D movie, you can see that the entire principle is written here. Okay, the polarization is often implemented in the production of viewing 3D films. When watching a 3D movie, there are actually two images being projected onto the screen at once. The two images are filmed with two separate cameras. Okay, from two slightly offset locations. These two images are projected onto the screen of the movie theater. Okay, through Polaroid filter. Polaroid filter actually cuts all this in a definite direction. It will move. Realize the molecules of one of the filter is aligned perpendicular to the aligned vertically. The other one is aligned horizontally. The audience is given 3D glasses that have one lens aligned horizontally, the other aligned vertically. Thus, one eye sees one image. Okay, now look at um, uh, the molecules of one of the filter is aligned vertically and the other one is horizontally. The audience are given 3D glasses. Now the glasses, two glasses of the two eyes are different. Okay, one lens aligned horizontally, the other aligned vertically. Thus one eye sees one image and the other eye sees the other image as projected on the screen. So the brain receives both the signal and perceives the depth of the flat screen. That is the third dimension is realized. The polarization is used for transmitting signal also. Radical transmitting aerial, okay, vertical polarized radio wave. It is used in the transmission sector. Okay, maximum electron oscillation in the receiving in the aerial is achieved when the aerial is aligned in parallel to the waves electric field. Okay, so this is the electromagnetic wave is traversing in. Okay, the magnetic field, electric field are vibrating. So this will be receiving it. Okay, so this is a transverse electromagnetic wave. So obviously again that when they are in line, okay, is parallel to the waves electric field, there are only the maximum received will be there. Another application is this LCD display polarization for these two polarizing plates are there. You can see here a polarizing plate is this is a liquid crystal, but these are the polarizing plates. Okay, this is the vertically polarizing plate and horizontally polarizing plates are there. Okay, this is one polarizer and this is the other polarizer. Okay, so this gives vertical polarization and this gives horizontal polarization. So ultimately, if light passes through, this is initially vertically polarized. Now liquid crystal display twisted it by 90-degree angle. So the ultimately that is passing through the one which is twisted, which is okay. If the liquid crystal display is on, actually switched, no voltage is applied, twist is in 90-degree angle, and ultimately you get an output. So these are another application of polarization. So what is a polarizer? Polarizer is an optical device that actually does the job of polarization. Okay. Linear polarization means if it produces linearly polarized light, the circular polarization is also that can also happen. If natural light is incident on linear polarized, only that vibration which is parallel to the transmission axis is allowed to pass through the polarizer. All the vibration that is in perpendicular to the direction is blocked because of the Malus law. Okay, now analyzer is there. The job is very similar to the polarizer, but it is almost acting as the detector of the detector wave. Okay, just like in LCD display, the second one acting was playing the role of analyzer. Okay. Now these are the variety of methods of polarization to reflection, refraction, scattering, absorption, double refraction. These are all applications, and applications are already industrial application. I already mentioned. So this is the way you see light is gets polarized. This is through transmission. So this is the polarization through transmission. Okay. So this is ordinary unpolarized light is coming where electric field is vibrating in all possible direction. It is passing through the crystal, okay, and it will be passing, okay, it's vertically gets polarized. Ultimately, this is a polarizer. If the analyzer is parallel to each other, you get an output. If it is at some angle, okay, output will change. Okay, if the angle between polarizer and the analyzer is say it depends on the angle between them, and you can get a light. Now this is the case of 90-degree angle, so they are perpendicular to each other. The formula is that I0, if the initial intensity is I0, okay, the final intensity this is unchanged I0, the final intensity will be I0 cos square of the angle. Here it is cos square 90 degrees, so we get nothing. Okay, same thing happens here also. Okay, it is predicted in Malus law. Okay, you can see if it is given at 45-degree I0 by 4, you can see. Okay, sorry, yes, I0 it becomes I0 by 2. Okay, again if you keep it like this, I0 by 4, very good example. Okay, okay. Now this is the example of polarization by reflection. The polarization, this reflected beam can be polarized. Okay, if okay, then this angle is called, this angle of incidence is called polarizing angle. Okay, and the condition is that then the corresponding refractive index would be equal to, okay, mu will be equal to tan IP, tan of the this angle of polarization, or tan I theta B. Okay, this is the Brister's law of reflection by polarization by reflection. Okay, so basically this is a beam coming in, this is a reflected beam, this is a refracted beam. Reflected beam is fully polarized and refracted beam is plus or slight partial polarization is there. Okay, you can see, suppose this is electric field vector is vibrating like this way, so now it is vibrating. Okay, this is unpolarized light. Okay, here it is vibrating in all possible directions. Okay, here only one of the direction is preferred or will pass. That is the process of polarization. Now, in 1892, Brewster performed a number of experiments to study the polarization of light. He found that ordinary light is completely polarized in the plane of the incidence when it gets reflected from the transparent medium at a particular angle known as the angle of polarization. He proved that the tangent of the angle of polarization is numerically equal to the refractive index. Also, the reflected and refracted as a normal. Okay, another point I forgot to mention, this angle is 90 degree. Okay, the angle between reflected and refracted ray is 90 degree. They are perpendicular to each other. These are the two conditions imposed. Okay, so if you look here, so the first condition is that mu is equal to tan theta, and the angle between the angle of the reflected beam and the refracted beam that they are making is equal to 90 degree. Okay. Now Brewster found that the maximum polarization of the reflected may occur. Okay, that is theta p plus r equal to 90 degree. They are at right angles to each other. Okay, that is the maximum. The reflected ray when it is at right angles to the refracted ray. So that means if you look at the picture, that is a this is the angle of refraction. Okay, these two are at right angles to each other. Okay, now try to realize it. Okay, this is r, this is the angle of this theta. If this is theta p, this is also theta p. So theta p, this is 90 degree, so this is 180 degree. So basically the summation of this angle and this angle will also be 180 degree, sorry, 90 degree. So basically that is written here. Now according to Snell's law, theta p by theta r is mu 2 by mu 1. Okay, and you can write down this slightly, you can write down this theta r is equal to theta p, and 90 minus r, sorry, 90 minus theta p. So that is written here. So it becomes sin theta p by cos theta p. So this gives you mu is equal to tan theta p is equal to mu 2 by mu 1. That is a refractive index. Okay, this is the Brewster's law. It is called Brewster's angle. There is a related problem. Oh, that is, and the other way also you can prove by Snell's law, mu is equal to sin I by sin r. By Bragg's law, by Brewster's law, mu is equal to tan I, tan of the angle. So basically, you can write down this way. This is sin I by cos r, sin by cos. Okay, because r is basically 90 minus I. That's why it is coming. So therefore, cos I is equal to sin r. That is whatever is coming. This is actually sin I by cos I. This is tan I. So tan I, so cos I is therefore equal to sin r. Sin r is equal to cos of pi by 2 minus r. So basically, I is equal to my pi by 2 minus r, I plus r is equal to pi by 2. We get it. There is a problem. If the refractive index is 1.52, what is the angle? Tan inverse of this. Okay. For ordinary glass, the approximate value of the polarizing angle is therefore 50, or the 1.5 is that of the ordinary crown glass. Okay, so 57 degree. For a refractive index of 1.7, the polarizing angle is 59.5. Okay, thus the polarizing angle is not widely different from different glasses. Okay, only by slight change. Okay, 3 degree changes, 2 degree, 2.5 degree changes. Now polarization by scattering. You can see some unpolarized light is coming, and these are the scattering center is here. Okay, and after that it is being the scattered beams are there. Because of scattering also the polarization can take place. A narrow beam of natural light is incident on a transparent medium contains suspension of ultra microscopic particle, the scattered light is partially polarized. The degree of polarization depends on the angle of scattering. The beam scattered at 90 degrees with respect to the incident direction is linearly polarized. Sunlight scattered by air molecule is polarized. The maximum effect is observed when a clear day when the sun is near the horizon. The light reaching the ground from directly overhead is polarized is to the extent of 70 to 80%. Now, polarization by absorption was observed by Bio long back in 1815. When the lateral light passes through some of the crystals, such as tourmaline, double refraction takes place. It splits into two components, which are polarized and mutually perpendicular to each other. These crystals are strongly absorbs light that is polarized in a direction parallel to the particular plane, but freely transmit the light component polarized in a perpendicular direction. This difference in the absorption is known as a selective absorption or dichromism or double refraction. Okay, dichroism. So basically, in some of the crystal, what happens? This picture will tell you everything. Okay, unpolarized light actually gets divided into two parts. Okay, double refraction takes place. Okay, in some of the crystal, in like splits into two components. Okay, and they are mutually perpendicular planes actually. Okay, so basically, if this is a tourmaline crystal, suppose if an unpolarized light passes through it, after passing through it, it actually get two components. One is in this direction and one perpendicular to this direction. The crystal strongly absorbs the light that is polarized in a direction parallel to the particular plane, but freely transmit the light that is perpendicular to the direction. This difference in absorption results in the selective absorption. Some of the light can easily pass through, some cannot. Okay, as you can see. Look here. This is the one which is passing through, but perpendicular one is getting absorbed. Okay, so this is called a dichoric crystal. Okay, so one is highly attenuated, another is almost not attenuated. The polarization is taking place, but it is doing it done in a selective manner. Okay, the difference in absorption in different direction may be understood from the electronic theory. When the frequency of crystals that exhibit selective absorption are called anisotropic crystals. So these are anisotropic crystal. Light waves are coming out in different out of the material. Okay, and the components having vibration perpendicular to the principal plane gets absorbed. As you can see on the screen also. Okay, the perpendicular component is getting absorbed, and the one in the direction of the principal plane is transmitted through. Okay. Now, a double refraction was observed by Erasmus Bartholinus in 1969. When light is incident on a calcite crystal, it splits into two refracted rays. The other earlier one was not double refraction; it was the absorption dichoric crystal case where one of the light was absorbed, the other one is going out. But dichoric crystal actually produces two refracted rays. Okay, this phenomenon is called double refraction or birefringence. This crystal is called birefringence. So you can see unpolarized light is coming. This is a calcite crystal. So what is happening? It is dividing into components. Okay, one in the plane of the crystal and one is this is perpendicular. Okay. Now they actually come out. These are all two refracted beams. They come out differently. So inside the material, the velocity gets changed. Okay. The okay. So one of them is called E ray. The other one is called O ray. Two rays are produced in double refraction. These two rays obey Snell's law of refraction. The not both the rays. Actually, the this one O ray is called ordinary ray. Okay, it is coming out, and this E ray is called extraordinary ray. Ordinary ray means obeys Snell's law. Okay, and it vibrates perpendicular to the plane of the crystal. The other one is does not obey Snell's law. Okay, it is called extraordinary ray. They are coming out differently because their velocities inside the crystal gets changed. Now, one such double refracting crystal is nickel prism. Okay, it is made from calcite crystal, designed by William Nickel in 1820. The calcite crystal whose length is there 3 times as its width. The end faces of these crystals are grounded in such a way that the angles of the principal section become 68 degree and 112 degrees instead of this much. Okay. So how you design it? The crystal is cut into two pieces. This is the design. Okay. Two pieces by a plane perpendicular to the principal section. Okay, principal section perpendicular to that it is done actually in the crystal. These two parts of the crystal are now cemented to Canada balsam. Okay. The refractive index of Canada balsam lies between the refractive index of the ordinary and extraordinary rays inside the crystal. So this angle, one of the angle is 68 degree, other one is 112 degree. As you can see here on the screen, so this is an unpolarized light which is coming in. Refractive index of the extraordinary ray is 1.4864. The refractive index of ordinary ray is 1.65. Okay, so ordinary ray and Canada balsam is 1.52. If you compare, the refractive index of extraordinary ray is lesser than the refractive index of the Canada balsam, and refractive index of ordinary ray is greater than the refractive index of the Canada balsam. So what would happen? It you see it might happen. You see for the ordinary ray, for the you see if you look at the this is the Canada balsam. Okay, this layer. This is the Canada balsam layer. So if you look in terms of the extraordinary ray, it is traversing from a when it is crossing that ordinary Canada balsam, it is traversing from a rarer medium to a denser medium. So basically, it can transmit like ordinary light, but this ordinary ray has got higher refractive index. So it is traversing from a denser medium to rarer medium. So total internal reflection can take place and it can be reflected back. So basically, you can separate it out. If you only wish to get an ordinary ray, sorry, extraordinary ray, you can get it. Actually, it is also done. Okay, one absorber is used here, which absorbs this extraordinary, this ordinary ray. Okay, so it is like this. Okay, the ordinary ray is moving like this way because it is traversing from a denser medium to the rarer medium, and extraordinary ray is going from the rarer to denser. So it is traversing the normally just like what happens in refraction, rarer to denser to rarer. If it is denser and this is rarer, total internal refraction can take place. But if somebody goes from rarer to denser, so normal refraction will take place. So this is happening for E ray, and for O ray this is happening. Okay, you can see on the screen. So ultimately you can filter out the E ray. Okay, you can see the same story here. Okay, so if you keep an analyzer here, okay, it's polarizer Canada balls nickel prism. This is the analyzer Canada optical prism. So analyzer will allow this to pass through, but here, if you keep the analyzer, okay, it is a perpendicular to it. Okay, how do you get the? You can see again the nickel prism is there, so you can now get the ordinary ray. This is how you can get it also because this is a second analyzer. Okay, if you keep perpendicular to it, you can get it. Okay, so this is how you can get the two polarized light. Another is polarized sheet. In 1928, E.H. Lau developed methods of aligning small crystal to often large polarizing sheets. Construction a clear plastic sheet, long chain molecules of polyvinyl alcohol is heated. It is often stretched in a given direction to many times the original length. During this process, polyvinyl alcohol molecules becomes aligned along the direction of the stretching. The sheet is laminated to a right rigid sheet of plastic. It is then exposed to the iodine vapor. The iron vapor atoms attach themselves to the straight long chain of polyvinyl molecules. The conduction electrons associated with the iodine can move along the chains. The sheet fabricated along this, according to this process, is known as the H sheet. So this is the way it operates. Okay, polarized sheets are there. Now this figure A, this is unpolarized light. You can see here. This is the polarizer. This is the analyzer. They are parallel. So now this sheet, you see, it full transparency will be there. Now it is at some angle, so partial transmission will be there, and they are perpendicular to each other, so no transmission will be there. So all the logics are there. This is a polarizing sheet. Now Isotropic crystals and isotropic crystal, I already told you when I talk about dichroic crystal, isotropic crystals are atoms are arranged in a regular periodic manner. So light beam is incident, it refracts in a single way, double refraction cannot take place. Okay, it means that in such material the refractive index is same in all directions. But anisotropic crystal, I have told you double refraction. So for in anisotropic crystal, double refraction can take place. Glass, water, air are isotropic material, and anisotropic material is calcite. Is you can see calcite is an example of that. Okay, here the arrangement of atoms are such that the physical properties differ, very like thermal conductivity, electrical conductivity, velocity depends on the direction. Such crystals are called anisotropic crystals. Uniaxial crystal means one refracted ray in this is an ordinary ray, the other one is extraordinary ray. For example, calcite crystal, biaxial crystal, both the refracted rays are extraordinary ray, okay, like mica, topaz, etc. Okay. So for birefringence to observe, you have to choose an anisotropic uniaxial crystal. Calcite crystal is the form of rhombohedral. You can see the configuration of calcite crystal. Okay. This is the way it looks like. This is a calcite crystal. The two opposite faces A and H are the three angles of faces. Okay, and H are the two opposite faces. These are all optic axes are shown there, along which the velocities are same of the area and ODE. Okay, otherwise velocities will differ. Okay. So if you moves along optic axis, no area formation. Okay. Double refraction is absent along the optic axis. Okay. The plane containing the optic axis is called principal section. As a crystal has 6 faces, so every point inside the crystal there are 3 principal sections, one for each pair for calcite crystal. And principal section cuts the surfaces in parallelogram 71 degree and 109 degree. Okay, so this is the principal section, and you can see the formation of ire and ore in a calcite crystal as I discussed. Okay. Now, double diffraction has been already explained. Positive crystal means where the refractive index of ordinary ray is greater than the uh, extraordinary ray. Sorry, positive crystal means extraordinary ray has got a higher refractive index than the ordinary ray, and negative crystal means the opposite. Okay, extraordinary ray has got lower refractive index. Okay. The main difference between ODE and IRE I mentioned already, that ordinary ray obeys Snell's law, IRE does not obey Snell's law. ODE, okay, there is a laws of refraction and it does not obey the laws of refraction. And the velocity of the light for the ODE inside the crystal is less than the velocity of the light for IRE, because this is of this formula. Okay, refractive index in calcite, ordinary refractive index is, I have shown you in electrical prism, is higher. So basically, if you follow the formula, speed of light is free space by the speed of light in the material medium, critical here. So obviously, mu greater than means velocity of the ordinary is lesser than the velocity of the extraordinary. So extraordinary ordinary travels in the crystal with same velocity in all direction, but it is different in different direction, which does not obey the Snell's law. Okay. So now we can see these are the Huygens. According to Huygens, this is how the wave front would look like. The positive crystal. Okay. This is the optic axis. The velocity in a positive crystal. Okay. The velocity of ORE is greater than the velocity of IRE. So this is the ORE surface. which is like a spherical wavefront, and for E ray it is elliptical, and negative crystal is just opposite. Okay, the velocity of O ray, E ray is higher than this. Okay, so these are the major differences, positive and negative crystal. In terms of velocity of the positive crystal, refractive index of E ray is greater than O ray, negative crystal opposite. So here velocity of O ray will be higher than velocity of refractive index. Velocity of extraordinary ray here the opposite. Okay, according to Huygens ellipse correspond. You see the positive crystal, it is like this much. Okay, spherical wavefront inside that elliptical, and here negative crystal is that, okay, elliptical wavefront inside that there is a spherical wavefront. Okay, example of positive crystal is quartz. Example of negative crystal is calcite. Okay, now this is all about the polarization of light. So it's very important phenomena for your future study, but irrespective of whatever may be your stream, and for, you see, if you have to learn electromagnetic communication, and you can see starting from your movie theater to the polarized glass, it is everywhere it is used. And most wonderful example of application of this polarization phenomena is obviously the LCD display itself, okay, which is studied in the display section. So here we conclude our discussion on physics 2. Thank you. Best of luck for your future. Okay.